Oh, man, if you're hearing that song, you know what it means. That means it is Monday night, and it's time for another edition of Effin Rager. Hey, everybody. Ow. Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you are listening, I am Conner Clifton, your host, joined, as always, by my co-host, Ned Gale. Hey, Ned, how you doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. You know, it's kind of a slow day, but I don't want to talk about today. I want to jump into what we always talk about. Why don't you tell me, how was your freaking weekend?
Ooh, the freaking weekend. Another crazy weekend in a row. Last week, I went to a bachelor party, and this weekend, I went to another bachelor party. And then the wedding for the bachelor party from the previous weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so doubleheader. You were at the bachelor party on Friday night.
I was.
I don't know if you remember being there.
No, I do. I was one of the few who decided to take it as easy, relatively, I guess.
Not me. I took it sleazy.
Yeah. Everybody at that bachelor party got a little silly. We had advice from our lovely guest last week, Antoine, about how to handle a bachelor party, and I think I did all right.
Yeah,
I came out of there
so.
virtually unscathed. I had a nice breakfast taco in the morning, and I was able to help keep the peace when people got a little too silly.
Yeah.
The bachelor party was fun. How was the wedding?
The wedding was fantastic. I cried. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was really cool. It was a bunch of my old high school friends, so it was cool to run into the old crowd. You know, people I don't always see. And see them joined in holy matrimony. I was there when they met.
Yeah, gross.
No, it was a great wedding.
Was there anything that stood out? Like, what made you cry? Was it just the fact that they were your friends for so long, or was there?
Yeah, just that. And then some. Her sister sang a Lana Del Rey song afterwards.
Video games?
Yeah. No, I don't know which one it was. It's the sad one that's real slow, vocals only. Do you know that one? Yeah.
I just don't know why you would sing a Lana Del Rey song at a wedding when most of her songs are really just very sad. And
no, this one was called The Wedding Skip Hop. Do you know that one?
What?
No, I'm just kidding. And we did the wedding skip hop.
If you could figure it out, we could put it on right now.
I'd rather not cry again. It was just a beautiful gesture. Not even the song itself was like amazing or anything. Oh, actually, she did sing it very well.
Okay, well that's good.
And then the wedding was super fun. We got crazy. It did end with someone getting a little too sleazy, so we had to drag their rotting corpse out to the street. And take care of that. And then Sunday was just like kind of a chill out day. So
yeah, Sunday
much needed.
Yeah, I definitely needed Sunday's nice little chill vibe.
What was your Saturday night?
My Saturday, I went to my high school reunion. I went to my 10-year high school reunion. Let's see. Me and my buddy Alec, we showed up first, so we were the first people to arrive because we're dorks, and it was very much like high school in that as the debate team showed up, we sat by ourselves while all the popular kids pretty much didn't pay attention to us. Did run into some very nice people that I knew in high school. Ran into my high school crush, who's kind of having a tough time right now. So it was very jarring. To like, I wanted her to go. I was excited to like.
Did you see like the highs and the lows of kind of people?
Yeah. I saw people who were living the dream that were like, I'm a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher. This is amazing. And then there are people who are like,
paid so much,
who are just like, wine-stained teeth, being like, after my first divorce, I really took a look at myself, and I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta skip outside.
Were there any crazy like left turns of like, oh my gosh, a professional skateboarder, or like anything like that?
There was one dude who ended up he's in the Olympic bobsled team now.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, he was always a football star. He did a front flip over somebody.
Football and sledding aren't the same thing at all.
Right? I know. Okay. I know.
So that's still surprising.
Yeah, he was a football star who did a front flip over somebody.
Whoa.
ESPN recognized him as like the second most talented running back in the country. But he didn't get tackled very often, so he wasn't prepared when he went to college football. And then he transferred to an Ivy League-esque school where football was like, okay, I guess that's a good addition to the team.
Yeah.
But he was not a good addition. Basically, he sat alone by himself and was just like, yeah, what's up? I'm on the Olympics. And people were like, yeah, we saw. You're still as boring as you've always been. I don't feel too bad. I'm petty like that. High school reunion. I showed up. I looked nice. I shaved my beard a little bit. I got all cute, and just wanted to show off how good I look now and my confidence. And I ended up just sitting by myself and drawing on the photos people were putting everywhere. There were a lot of photos of like the popular kids, and I just took them and drew on the back of them and then scattered them across the room. And some people were like, Conner, why are you doing this? And I said, I'm very bored. And they said, well, all right. And for a moment, I thought I was going to get in trouble. And then I realized I'm an adult. What are they going to do?
Arrest you.
Yeah. Yeah.
ISS for human or for adults.
Yeah. It's not the most exciting story. I think that there's much in my high school reunion that, hey, if you see me around or if you come to our stage show, you could ask me about it, and I can give a lot more detail than I can here on the radio station. But, speaking of party stories, Ned and I, we went to Austin not too long ago.
Yeah.
For Staple. And we asked people to give us some stories. And then we also handed out our business card, which had our hotline on it. Do you remember? It's 910-HIGH-RAGER.
910-HIGH-RAGER.
910-HIGH-RAGER. And we've got one that somebody called in to leave. We got a couple here that we want to play. This is the first one. This is from Laura up in Austin, so we're going to go ahead and play that for you guys now. This is somebody's party story.
Hi, Ned. Hi, Conner. It's me, Laura, longtime listener, first-time caller. I just wanted to tell you about a story that I had. I live here in Austin, Texas. My parents came to visit me from the Midwest, and we spent a lot of time at Justine's. So much time, in fact, that they offered to allow us to, they drove us in this, old school Cadillac to this house party that I wanted to go to around Halloween time. And got dropped off at this party, met up with a bunch of friends. I was already lit, as the kids would say, from all the French 75s that I had with my parents on their tab. Ow. Yeah. So I went to this house party, and I was trying to hang out with my friends, and then I went, and I tried to sit on the couch. I missed the couch, fell flat on the floor. Very embarrassing. My friend helped me outside. Another friend had recognized that, hey, girlfriend needs to go home. She walked down the block to pick up to drive her car back to pick me up because I couldn't walk really that far. So while I was sitting on the curbside, it seems that a concerned neighbor may or may not have called 911. So then my friend, she comes and picks me up. I get in the car. We're driving 2 blocks, and then there's an ambulance behind her, and she goes, can an ambulance pull you over? Because I think this ambulance is trying to pull me over right now. And so she pulled to the side, and the ambulance said, hey, we got word that somebody in here might need medical attention. And luckily I was able to say, no, it's all right. I'm good. She drove me to my apartment, where she walked me into my apartment, and her very recent ex-boyfriend was sitting out, who was also my roommate, was sitting outside and with his new girlfriend, and she goes, oh, and I go, oh, Tim's here with Tracy, very loudly, and I passed out on my bed. I thought you should know. Thanks, bye.
Okay, so that was Laura from Austin, Texas. Thank you so much for calling in with that story.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were giving us that story as the story was ending. Shouts out to Laura. Thank you so much. We got to razz you a little bit. The hiccuping and the trying to come up with the next word was...
Man, I love the concept of being pulled over by an ambulance. What if an ambulance pulled over, come out still you know how sick you are? Why don't you step out of the car? You notice your leg was broken?
I just gotta get home and I'll be fine. Yeah, I think civil servant, like if it's a postman pulled you over, yeah, we got reports of you really skimping on the stamps here, buddy. So that's one of the voicemails we got. We also have another one. This one is...
Oh, we got two? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got another one.
Let me throw the graphic back up. Let's cover
right.
Jade's face one more time.
This one is from somebody actually quite famous. We're very ecstatic that an international superstar has an intergenerational, truly. I think a lot of people have heard about this guy from young and old. But this guy, you love him, you know him. His name is Grigory Rasputin, and here's his voicemail.
Hey guys, how's it going? Grigory Rasputin here. Boy, I sure do wish I could come hang out with you guys sometime. I just gotta get something off my chest. I'm having a real hard time out here in Siberia. You know, people from my village and Pokrovskoye, and then you know the big fancy city types from St. Petersburg. They don't really get how to rage. Sometimes they don't really understand how much of a party, you know, is in my heart. They just don't really seem to get what we're about, you know, raging. And sometimes it doesn't work out so great. You know, I have a hard time relating to these people. You know, sometimes I wonder, what am I even doing here? I want to go rage. All we got here is snow and ice, and sometimes there's a tree, and honestly, I can't even tell you what there is. I can't rage here. I can't rage.
All right.
Oh, man, that's how it ends?
Yeah, that's how it ends. I think there's a part 2 somewhere around here. I don't know if we could play that one. Do you feel up for it?
Let's go ahead and play it. If people are leaving messages, we got to play them, man.
All right. Here's Grigory Rasputin. You know, he worked for the Tsar of Russia, the last Tsars of Russia. Mm-hmm. And we've got a second voicemail from him. So here he is.
Hey, what's up, Ragers? It's Grigory Rasputin coming at you live from Pokrovskoye, Siberia. What's happening, y'all? Hey, listen, I'm just on my commute home, you know, driving a sled, got the dogs with me. Man, I just want to say, I really wish I could hang out with you guys sometime. You know, we're starting our own little rage scene here in Siberia. It's small, but, you know, it's picking up every now and again. A couple of us get together, you know, my buddies. Some of them will come in from, you know, out in the tundra. They'll bring in some furs, and, you know, we'll just get together and we'll have a real rage sesh. Not really welcome so much in the city anymore, so, you know, I work with what I got around here. You know, I do what I can. So, anyway, I just feel like people don't really understand what we're all about, you know, where I am, my part of the world. People just don't understand us, you know, but I'm like you guys. I just rage. And anyway, I just want to get that off my chest. I just want to call, check in with you guys. You know, I love y'all. Love what y'all do. We're going to rage in Russia, Siberia, on the map. Rage out.
Always love hearing from Grigory. He's such a treat.
Yeah, what a change of vibes between those two messages. He's really made his own party scene there.
I think it's great that he called in to complain and then thought about it, and he just took action.
You got to take matters into your own hands. DIY partying. If you don't have a scene, you make the scene.
That's true. That's how you do it.
And we got to go to Siberia to see him.
Yeah. Well, you know, as listeners of the show know, we do have a Venmo. If you want to donate to our Siberia tickets, you know, please do at Effin Rager. It'd be amazing. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think the great thing about Grigory deciding to...
How are you planning on tying this in?
The great thing about Grigory trying to do all this stuff is that a lot of people don't know how into the occult he really was and how spooky dooky that guy was.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of spooky,
speaking of spooky, our guest for you guys tonight is a real spook queen. Please give it up for the very amazingly talented illustrator here in Houston, Texas, Miss Jade Young. Hey, Jade, how's it going?
It's going great.
If you could just lean a little bit closer to the mic.
Pretty close to the mic.
There we go. Now we're talking.
All
I don't
right.
actually think you're dookie, if that makes you feel better.
I appreciate that.
All right. So, Jade, thank you so much for coming onto the show. We've had you on the live show before. We're very excited to have you here on the radio show.
You were our first guest on the live show, right?
I was,
Yeah. Now, we've got a few things that we normally go through here on the show. We typically start off talking about partying. What else?
Heard of it?
Yeah. So let's start back in the beginning. We can start with either high school or childhood fun day parties. Did you have some ragers back in the day?
I didn't really have a lot of ragers when I was a child.
All right.
Well,
I was pretty lame in high school. I did start dating an older gentleman when I was later in my high school years, and did go to some very weird parties then.
Okay.
What made them weird? Like Connor and I weren't there, or?
Yeah, I felt a weird loss, and I wasn't quite sure what it was until I met you. Know?
Okay. So, is there anything that you can share about what that partying was like with people older than you, or no? Oh, we can move on to college.
There was one party in particular that I can think of that was, I feel like it's a pretty common thing near the end of high school. Everyone has friends that went off and got apartments, and then that apartment turned into just a group of guys living together that maybe shouldn't be living on their own
I know
yet.
exactly what you're talking about.
And I have a very distinct memory of going to one of those parties, and there was a lot of people there, and just kind of sitting on the ground and waiting around, and this guy burst out of a bedroom, and he was wearing a sheet as a toga and a sombrero. And he was yelling very loudly for someone to give him a ride for him to go find ketamine.
Oh, cool. I mean, I guess that's
Story got a little darker.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say wearing a sheet as a toga and a toga as a hat.
I don't think that he found a ride. I don't think that he really got his quest end there, but he was really adamant in his toga hat combination.
He was definitely dressed for the occasion.
For sure.
What do you wear when you go get ketamine?
Whatever you want.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, now let's move into college here. You went to Texas State, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What was that like? You were an art student. I'm sure art kids had wild parties.
It was kind of a bummer.
Creative parties, yeah.
Texas State was kind of a bummer because I went there thinking it was going to be this really cool party school, and they didn't have classes on Fridays, and teachers didn't care about anything. And
Whoa, like the school doesn't have class on Friday at all?
So,
Please.
no, until I went there. My first semester there was the very first semester that they implemented school on Fridays. They were very serious about people going to classes because Texas State was like, we're not going to be a party school anymore. We're going to be a serious football school.
Now lift me up for this keg stand. Yeah. I'm the dean of friggin' students.
So the college party dream I had was quickly squashed by the school administration trying to be more serious.
Bogus. It's always the school administration. So you pull any crazy pranks on them to get back at them and so you could party?
No, not really.
Were there any wild stories from anything that happened at Texas State? I mean, it's granted, if you want something to thrive, you try and suppress it. So if you try to kill parties, they're going to happen. They're going to be much more rebellious in spirit.
Speakeasies.
Anything off the rails go on or anything
There
like
weren't
that?
any secret prohibitions that I went to. There was one party that was at an off-campus apartment, and there was a group of people smoking out on the porch, and there was a group of people sitting inside talking about serious college things.
Good.
Of course. And we kept hearing people on the porch howling and yelling, and so someone went out and was like, what are you guys doing? And there was this guy that they were yelling at, and I don't know what they were screaming about, but we ignored it and went back inside, and there was a bunch of girls inside and 2 guys. And then this guy walked inside and just walked in and went straight to the porch and everyone in the living room was like, do you know who that is? Do you recognize him? And once we all realized that we didn't, like, the two guys in the living room just looked at each other, like, kind of did a dude nod, and they both got up, walked out into the porch, and then 5 minutes later, we're dragging this guy out by his arms.
No, I just want ketamine.
Grab my sombrero.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds a little wild. Did you ever have any brushes with the cops or anything?
No, I didn't. I'm a pretty small girl. It's really easy for me to just slip away in most situations.
Slide between their legs.
That's just right. They don't even see you. Okay, so at Texas State, now I mentioned earlier you were an illustrator. You are an illustrator, and you were an art student.
I was an illustrator before I died.
Yes, yeah.
Was, is, and forever shall be.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's on my tombstone.
You were an art student at Texas State. What was it? How did you come to that decision? What made you decide this is what I want to major in? This is what I want to do?
I don't have an exciting story for that. I just that's the only thing I've ever been good at. So I decided to get a degree in it, and it was a horrible decision that's actually kind of paid off.
Well, then it sounds like it was a good decision.
Yeah, that sounds like a great decision.
Well, because I've heard so many tales of like things that you have done. You did animation for a little bit with like, I don't know if you can talk about that quite freely, but you worked on some like very weird projects there. You then went on to just kind of make your own zines and t-shirt competitions, and now your work is all over Houston. I'm wearing one of your t-shirts right now. Let me show it off to the camera here. There you go.
Put you in.
Speed Demon.
We can't.
By Jade. All right, so you did that. Your work is featured on the menu at Double Trouble, a bar here in Midtown.
Yeah.
You did the logo for El Bambi, and you did the box for Pie Pizza for their delivery boxes. You're everywhere. So I think that you made a good decision, but you say it was a bad decision that paid off. What was it like getting to that point where you're now all over the place? Like, what were your struggles in that?
I think that the artistic struggle is just constantly thinking that you're making the wrong decision all the time.
The old imposter syndrome.
Yes.
What a warm jacket we wear.
I think the way that I've gotten to where I am now is I just keep drawing all the time. If anyone has anything that they want me to do, I will do it.
Okay, so
you just recently did the spooky stand-up poster, which blew my freaking brain open. I love it so much.
Yeah, I want to transition into that. You did the spooky stand-up show. It's got the poster for the show. It's got a lot of vampires and werewolves.
It doesn't have any vampires.
Okay, it's got a werewolf on it. It's got monsters.
It's got werewolves, really hairy vampires, really hairy Frankensteins. They all look like wolves, though.
Yeah. All right. So it's got a lot of werewolves on it. Jeez Louise.
Wait, where are they?
All right, so you draw a lot of scary things is what I want to get at. The shirt I have on, Speed Demon. You did a poster for Spooky Stand-Up. You've got a lot of stuff about witches coming out. So why do you focus on these paranormal spooky things?
Because I love horror with everything in my heart and soul and bones and
did you say bones?
What draws you to horror as a genre?
Man, I can't tell you exactly what it is.
What draws you to drawing horror?
Because blood, guts, and boobs are the only thing worth drawing.
Hey, that's pretty.
You know,
preach it. Yeah. Was that one of your professors? A quote from, or
Professor Bones, Butts, and Boobs.
Professor Boobs.
Professor Jekyll.
My favorite
I don't
professor.
know.
Okay, so you have this unexplainable draw to horror stuff, and putting that out there. What are your favorite things about horror? Like, you've talked to me about it. Now tell the readers, tell my Aunt Erin, who listens every week, shout out Aunt Erin, love you. Hey. Tell her why you like horror movies so much. If I'm just like, I don't know, I only like comedies, I only like to laugh, getting scared sucks. What's your rebuttal? I know you argue with people.
Well, so if you set aside just a general interest in the macabre and ghosts and demons and Ouija boards and, evil nuns, I think that modern horror has a very distinct storytelling style in which it will take things that everyone universally is deeply scared of and fills you with dread. It can put it in a context that is a story that you can share with the storyteller, and other people. And I think that it's really come to a head in modern horror. We're kind of going through a modern indie horror renaissance with A24 specifically, like The Witch and It Follows, Hereditary being the most recent one. But there is a giant treasure trove of amazing indie horror movies in the last 4 years. But it's kind of a universal thing. The biggest horror in the last 100 years always comes from kind of a general fear. Like the Frankenstein books came from a fear of industrialism, and any other horror movie kind of trope monster that you look at really comes from a much larger societal fear that everyone is looking at. And horror can take that fear and make it something that it's easier to talk about. Things that are just kind of like overall existential dreads are kind of, they're hard topics, but when you can make them a monster, you can talk about them and feel better about them.
So I'm going to throw some monster movies at you, and you tell me what you think their inspiration is.
Oh, man, I should have done research for this show.
Here we go. The Blob.
That came out in the 80s?
The remake did. I think the original came out in like the 50s or 60s.
The 50s or 60s. The Blob. I don't think I've actually seen The Blob.
Terrifying. All right.
It's our fear of blobs.
Okay, all right. The Mummy.
The Mummy. That came out in the 1930s. It was Boris Karloff that did that. And I think that was the time when people were focusing a lot, like that was when there was a very, very big focus on like archaeology work and the other, and I think it's a fear of the past, maybe. I'm sure that I'm wrong about that, but
all right. Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Pretty scary.
It's our fear of Abbott and Costello
of bad comedy.
Going back in time.
I mean, mummies are terrifying. To see the Mummy, I'd be like, good, no thanks. But to see Conner and Ned,
that would be your big reaction.
Yeah, but if I saw Conner and Ned meet the Mummy, good, eyes closed, no thanks. I don't want to watch that. I'd be terrified.
I'd meet a mummy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
They're movie stars.
The pool, maybe?
Yeah. Hey, I'm getting several messages from the people watching, and they asked Jade, if you could party with any serial killer, which one would it be?
I have a special place in my heart for Jeffrey Dahmer because he murdered people while watching The Exorcist 3 and had a skull sculpture in his...
Wait, is The Exorcist 3 good?
No.
Okay.
It's not a good movie.
That's why he was killing.
Kill me.
It's not a good movie
This
at
is
all.
good for both of us.
He also had like a strange sculpture of skulls in his closet, and yeah, I mean, he murdered many people and put weird things in their head, and it's a very sad human that worked at a chocolate factory, but like I feel like I'd really want to hang out with him a little bit.
Well, when all your coworkers are Oompa Loompas, you have to kill.
Just keep singing.
I don't know the words. No one taught me.
Or Richard Chase. Richard Chase is my
He is the vampire person
of Sacramento.
If you want,
I'm thinking Richard Cheese. No, who's Richard?
Who's Richard Cheese,
He's
man?
like Weird Al Yankovic for lounge singers. Basically. Yeah. All right. So Richard Chase, for those who aren't listening, sorry, Aunt Aaron. Could you tell the people a little bit about Richard Chase? It's about to get graphic.
Richard Chase, he is a serial killer, but he wasn't a really strategic serial killer. He was a insane person that just wandered around Sacramento. I think that he went on like it was either one or two big sprees where he went into people's houses that were unlocked and very gruesomely murdered some women, and he brought his own bucket, which take from that what you will, because he had to take things back with him from the crime scene.
DIY, BYOB,
and
guys.
when he was caught, the police found his apartment and they went into it. He had this mental disorder where he didn't think he had enough blood in him, so he would make like blood smoothies and like cover himself in blood because he didn't have enough blood.
I'm the opposite. I know for a fact I have just enough blood.
I see you walk outside every day and just like rub a little bit of butter on your arms and let the mosquitoes just go ham.
Yeah, well, because sometimes I wake up and I'm like, time for bloodletting. Yeah.
Those are leeches, Cotter, not mosquitoes. You need to use leeches.
I have tumors inside of me. I must bleed them out. Yeah, science. All right.
Best thing about Richard Chase is when he was caught by the police, they couldn't catch him because he was so covered in blood. They tried to hold on to him, and he would just squeeze away like he was covered in butter.
My favorite serial killer capture has got to be Son of Sam, where he's just like, "What took you so long?" That's my favorite.
Ain't I a stinker?
Yeah, that's the gall of the man. Man. So why? Ned and I have talked about this before. I don't know if on the show, but definitely at our apartment. True crime, all the rage. What's up with it? Why do you love this true crime, or do you just love the serial killer aspect? Are you a fan of all true crime, or just creepy peoples?
I think that generally a fan of everything. There's definitely things that are more interesting than others. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that there are a lot of reasons aside from being interested in the macabre and terrible things that humans do. I think that there is a renaissance of true crime now, especially among women, and I think that a small part of that has to do with that women are 99% of the time the victims of these crimes, and if I know about them and hear about them, then I feel less scared all the time of being murdered horribly.
That's how I feel about taxation without representation. As a white man, I'm obsessed with it because I'm always the victim of it, and I'm just, I gotta focus on it. I'm, of course, razzing.
I'm getting some shouts out in these comments for, he was no Albert Fish from James Medford. I'm getting from Lindsay, David Berkowitz.
Yeah. They know what's up. All right. That's it? That's all the ones you have?
Yeah, I mean, there's some swear words in this message that I can't read. Mainly Maria just saying, yeah, that guy was down to Effin Rage.
Albert Fish would not have been fun at a party at all.
I think I know we talk about the Heights Strangler, was that
the Candyman?
Dean Corll.
Yeah.
Dean Corll. People talk about Dean Corll. I don't care about that. I care about Robert Durst. I think he's more of a Galveston. I know it's Galveston, but it still feels that feels very Houston centric, I suppose. There's nothing about it. He wasn't just H-Town when he did it.
But he was such a lame guy.
Oh no, I loved the Jinx.
I wouldn't call him a lame guy as much as a lame insect.
Really?
Yeah, he definitely was a monster.
I think Dean Corll is interesting, but have y'all heard of the Houston killing fields?
The old 45 killing fields. Yeah, talk to us about these killing fields.
Yeah, what's that?
They're about, I think, 30, 45 minutes away from Houston. It's just like a big oil field that they've found multiple bodies in, including 3, they think that there's 3 definite different versions of different groups of bodies that are linked to serial killers. And it's just right down the road if you want to go.
Yeah, is that on the way to Galveston?
I think it is on the way to Galveston. I've yet to go there, but it's on my list of places to go.
Hey, it might be on someone else's list too.
Is it all the same serial killer, or is it just under message boards?
Different serial killers.
Really?
It's on, dump them there? And it's one big hole.
Man, I think we got kind of close to having a serial killer with that mattress dude, right?
No, that was a weird spree.
Yeah, that's different. A spree. What's the difference between a serial killer and a killing spree?
So a killing spree is, and some
one is more fun than the other.
Killing spree is what I call it when I eat too many of those candies. All right,
So a killing spree, there are some people that are considered serial killers that have just been spree killers, but usually that's because they're spree killing, the Vampire of Sacramento were especially crazy. But a spree killer is someone who just kind of leaves here and just murders a bunch of people all at one time. A serial killer usually kills people over a period of time and will have a specific method.
It's more premeditated.
A little bit more premeditated, and they'll usually have kind of an MO, this is how this guy does it. With a spree killer, it's he just shot a bunch of people in the head, so it's not specific method.
It's not fun. No.
Yeah, it's not a fun way to kill people.
No killing is fun.
Killing is
This
fun.
is an Effin Rager. We're just telling you right now, Effin Rager does not like to kill unless it's on stage.
And if we're killing, this six-pack. Yeah. Those are the only two things we kill.
Yeah, killing spree is when I do 3 stand-up sets in a row.
Oh, is it?
No.
Okay, so you've incorporated all the spooky stuff into your artwork, into the things you talk about. Yeah, actually, quick aside here. Mm-hmm. I know Jade and I have this issue. I don't know about you, but
I have zero issues.
When you meet someone at a party,
sure.
How often do you talk about serial killers to these people? Because I have talked about Son of Sam saying that to a few people, also on dates. I don't know what else to do.
I feel like at parties, if it comes organically, then I'm happy to talk to them. However,
how does it come up with you? I feel like you're like, plant the seed and wait for the opportunity.
Have y'all heard about any serial killers?
Someone at the party's like, hey, could you help me move this couch into my van? You're like, oh
you want to kill me?
Yeah. Yes.
Like when I'm amongst peers, it's usually not something that I immediately go to, but if I'm in a situation like I'm meeting someone's parents or I'm on a first date, that is all that I can talk about for some reason. I have no idea why that's where my brain goes. Like the first time I meet someone and I want them to like me, I'm like, what's the coolest serial killer I can think of?
I'm seeing Maria said she changed her answer to Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy? Was he the handsome one?
Yeah, he's the one that represented himself in court.
What is he? Is
he the one that had
eater?
that head on a stick quote? I don't know. Maria, get back to us on that.
Yeah.
I'm more of an Ed Gein guy. That guy had fashion. Talk about that nipple belt.
Yeah, you were talking about Ed Gein. Didn't you learn about Ed Gein in high school?
No, it was
horrible to talk to.
No, he'd be horrible. Yeah, no. He could be the interior design for the party I throw. No, we did like a social problems class, and
yeah,
the teacher
Ed Gein made the curriculum.
The teacher was just like, he sat down one day. He's like, all right, we're doing serial killers, and like shut down the lights. And when it got to the Ed Gein thing, he was like going through. He's like, all right, look down if you don't want to see this. It's pretty nasty, but check these out. And right when it hit the nipple belt, I was like, whoa, nipple belt! I was so excited.
We're just real quick talking about favorite serial killers. Henry Lee Lucas. Hands down. I do not want to meet him at all.
Who's a HL squared? What's his deal?
So, just real quick, Henry Lee Lucas, he was an early American drifter serial killer who had
classic.
one eye. He had cadmium poisoning, so he smelt terrible, and he weeped from the eye that he didn't have constantly. And my favorite, just little point about his life is that, his mother was a woman of the night. She was 54 when he was born, and his father was legless and lived in like a cart, and he lost his legs because he got drunk and fell asleep on the railroad track and couldn't wake up when his legs were being run over.
This is the plot of Joe Dirt.
This is the story of a guy who raged too much.
Yeah.
That is some irresponsible raging right there. Okay, so Dean Corll, is he the one who worked with Aang? One of these guys we've named had a partner, didn't they?
No. You're thinking. It was the guy,
Charles
the two
Aang?
guys who kept the girl in the basement. Those super losers. I don't remember the name of the other guy.
That was their official name.
Yeah.
Signed, Super Losers.
Also the Columbine kids. Super losers. No, they're all.
Dean Corll did have a kid in high school that would bring him his high school friends to murder. I don't remember that kid's name, but I don't know if he would call him a partner.
He was voted most likely to betray you. Don't hang out with him. All
right, Maria says the head on a stick was from Ed Kemper.
Ah, yes, Ed Kemper. He was a good one.
James Medford says John Wayne Gacy for the party. Who doesn't want a clown at their party?
No one wants that.
It's true.
He's a good painter.
No, I think...
fun fact. So, those paintings from him from jail, he was super popular in jail and pretty much did Thomas Kincaid. He was the Thomas Kincaid of jail. He had other prisoners do most of those paintings. He didn't.
No way.
He was not a real painter. Yeah, most of those clown paintings you got, not really from him.
I don't have any.
Oh, I know how many you have.
It's like Tom Sawyer, man.
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy, you tricked tricked me. And oh, God, you're married.
Wait, I have to finish the outline.
Man, I got to admit, I do listen to my fair share of serial killer podcasts.
Don't we all?
I don't like the boring ones. I like the funny ones that make fun of these horrible people in the world.
I don't like the ones where it's just one guy and he sounds way too into the story he's telling you.
You can somehow tell by the audio he's recording it by candlelight, like pitch black in a basement.
While drafting.
Holding on to the microphone.
Yeah, while drafting his plan.
Yeah. Anyone hear that quill writing the whole time?
Oh, man. If you had to start a true crime podcast, or if you got a show, would you make it true crime? And if so, how would you?
You've already made our show true crime.
Yeah, because we're making a killing in the rating.
Whoa!
Right, so we got to stop with the reggae horn at some point. Would you want to do your own true crime thing? And if so, how would you do it?
No, I absolutely would not. There's so many true crime podcasts out there that I don't have anything really to bring to the table.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like if I was going to do a podcast, it would be about how I can make every horror movie better. Call me.
Ooh.
Now, what if you're?
All right, new challenge from the audience. Start commenting on horror movies. We'll get that going.
Okay, yeah, let's get some horror movies.
All
I was
right.
going to say, if you could start one that was maybe like only on drifters, possibly across
How do you have
the sea.
records of them?
It's. Can I get to the joke?
Okay.
You know what? Never mind. It's gone.
No. Now I feel awful. Please, Ned. You're doing a show on drifters.
It's called True Crime, True Furious.
What?
Tokyo Drifters.
Man, I really wish I'd let you finish that one. One of the things that I learned in my own research on drifters is hobo code.
When were you doing
it's called
research
Hoboken.
on drifters, Connor?
High school, when I was like, I don't want to go to college. I'm going to learn hobo
I'm going to be a
code.
drifter instead.
Yeah.
You have to get an associate's at least to be a drifter.
If you want to make any money.
What hobo code do you know?
Just like different symbols that people would draw on post outside home
like
to be
what?
like, avoid this place or you can get a warm meal here. Just basically the Twitter of the day.
Do you know any codes that could say like this is a place to Effin Rage or like?
It's our caricatures, but it's like the
You spend a lot of time.
drama mask.
Yeah.
So like we're like one's happy, one's sad, and they're like, you'll rage.
One's sad and throwing up, the other's happy and throwing up.
Yeah. Throwing up and throwing
Yeah.
down. I don't know. I eventually realized I wanted to go to college. Drifting was not for me.
Yeah, and the trains don't run like they used to, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they're on wheels.
Here's the thing. In Houston, we know the bus schedule. We typically know when rush hour
No,
starts.
I don't know the bus schedule.
I know the
You can
bus.
get
Is
an
there
app.
a bus schedule? Really?
Yes, the bus runs relatively on time, and they just redid it and got an award for it. And that buses typically arrive every 15 minutes, unless otherwise stated.
The award was most buses smelling like fish.
Anyway, I would like to know: is there any way that we can figure out when the friggin' real trains are running? Oh, Ned's got a comment.
No, keep going.
That's it. I just want to know when trains run now.
Yeah, because we keep getting stuck behind him in our neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a me problem, but I want to make it your problem, America. All right, call in about these trains. Our number is 713-526.
Welcome to my new podcast. My problems are your problems. Okay, so I'm getting some horror movies that you can improve upon. Maria asks to improve upon Exorcist.
That's not fair at all.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
More
Oh,
boobs.
The one that I laughed at was James Medford said Begotten.
What's Begotten?
It's that super high contrast movie that Marilyn Manson's like, I get all my ideas from this movie. Oh, I'll show you a YouTube clip when we get home. It's
Watch it later.
wild. And then I'm also getting...
You can't send me good horror movies.
I don't know if it's good. It's artistic. And the next movie down is Jaws.
More boobs.
Okay.
Okay.
The shark has to come out and individually bite a bunch of boobs.
So I just found something very interesting about Jaws in the true crime realm. This ties it together.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so about a month and a half after Jaws was filmed, in this about 45 minutes away, they found a body of a woman face down. It looked like she was sunbathing, but her hands were cut off and all of her teeth were taken out.
Whoa.
So that's the worst part. So it's never been solved, but they had all this information about her. They knew what she was wearing. It didn't look like there was like a struggle or anything. She was just not alive anymore. Like no one could really figure out what happened. It didn't, like, it seemed like she laid down to sunbathe and then something bad happened.
Hermit crabs took her teeth out.
Well, years later, someone was watching Jaws, and she had a very specific outfit on, and they knew a lot about her except for her fingerprints and teeth. And she was an extra in a beach scene in Jaws. But the person who was in charge of the extras is dead, and they don't really take a lot of information on that. So there's no real way of figuring out who she was, but we know that she was in that area. She was an extra on Jaws, and she's a cold case that may never be solved.
That's crazy, man. I thought you were going to say there was like some new Jaws laws or something that were enacted.
Yeah. Consider my jaw dropped. That was an incredible story. All right, Jade. So last question here. If we're going to do some horror stuff, can you tell us your ideal horror movie? Have you thought about, like, this is what I would make, this is the story I would want to tell, this is the monster or spooky thing that would be in it? What would be your ideal thing?
I don't think that I have like an ideal story, but I do want very badly for there to be more better werewolf movies. I love werewolves. Yeah. They're probably one of my favorite tropes, and I love witch movies. I love occult movies. I love possession movies, and they've been done wonderfully, and they're going to continue being done in beautiful fashions. But werewolf movies are just they're generally garbage, and I would love to see some better werewolf movies.
More werewolves per movie, or do you want like one crazy werewolf? You know what I mean?
I feel like one for the majority of the movie, but maybe at the end there could be like a werewolf group scene. That'd be great.
They go to chase the werewolf and kick the door down. There's just a bunch of wolves and like cut off shorts and beards, like. Okay, well, that brings us to our last segment of the night here.
Oh man,
I know it's that time. Man, is this loud enough? I think so. I want a new plug. Tell us what's going on. Tell us all the stuff that you're doing while we sing the song. All right, Jade. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what are some things that you're working on and what are some things that are coming up for you?
All right, the biggest thing that's coming up is November 17th is Zine Fest Houston. It's going to be awesome. Everyone should come out. It's free to the public. There's going to be so many amazing artists there.
But Jade, what are you doing there?
Well, I'm the featured artist this year.
What?
I did the poster and other promotional materials. So I have a booth, and this is going to be my best booth year ever, guys. I'm very excited about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're going to sell out. All right, anything else coming up?
Yes, so myself and my very good friend July Whipple are putting on a VHS, which stands for Video Horror Show, art box show at El Bambi on October 26th. We have a lot of amazing artists from across Houston making their own box of a made-up horror movie, and they're going to print it out, cut it up, and actually make a box and put a whatever VHS tape inside. So it's going to be something that you can pick up and look at the front, back, and side. And I think it's going to be a super, super fun way to kick off the Halloween weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
All right. What about you, Ned? Anything going on?
I'm going to River Revival this weekend, so if I don't come back, I got too wet.
Yeah. You drowned.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. My organs got wet. All right. I've got...
Oh, wait, quick shout out to Brandon. He said he needed a shout out.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Also, shout out to my brother Darby. Today's his birthday. Yay.
Yay. Happy birthday, Darby.
Yeah, good on you. You made it.
The first time I met Darby, he had his mouth wired shut.
Yeah. And he's never kept it closed since. I love you, brother. I hope you're listening. But I've got nothing really going on this weekend. I'm going to be hard at work on Spooky Stand-Up that I'll be co-hosting. And, hang on, we're getting a phone call.
We got a phone call at the end of this, yeah.
Louise, here we go. Hey there, you're on Effin Rager.
You only got 1 minute to talk.
Hello?
Hi, is this Ned Gill?
Yes, this is he speaking.
Ned, I wanted to sing that song you were playing earlier. Where she's a brick house. Everybody go. She's a brick
house. Okay, thanks so much. Our show's over.
All right, good night, everybody. Have a good one.